What's up, ladies and gents, boys and girls? Your boy, TheDreadMan, is back. Sports talk. Here to give you guys and weigh up all my thoughts on the death of one of the greatest boxers of all time, Muhammad Ali. Now, you guys know that I cover sports, mainly football, basketball, and boxing, on this channel. But before I get into Muhammad Ali, and the impact he had on not only boxing but on the world, before I get into that, I just want to say that 2016 is pretty much the year that all our childhoods are just dying. I mean, all our childhood heroes, whether you were born in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, or you're 2000s baby. These people dying like, Prince and China and Muhammad Ali. Like, all these people, they all had some kind of impact on our lives, whether it be in sports, entertainment, or whether just, as far as speaking motivationally, they all had some kind of impact on our lives and how people live their lives within the past 50 years. So yeah, it doesn't matter what generation you're from. Like, every single one of these legends have left their mark in some kind of way. And yeah, it's gonna, everybody from my generation on down is gonna miss them. And my kids, my grandkids, on, they're gonna know, they're not gonna do well. They're gonna see tapes and hear stories, about all these legends that a lot of people grew up with, and if we didn't directly grow up with them, that we saw them on tape and we saw them perform, But anyway, Muhammad Ali's death. Now, as y'all know, he's been struggling with Parkinson's disease for 35 years now. And pretty much since his retirement, he retired back in the early 1980s, and CTE is real, brain trauma. That's why a lot of combat sports and a lot of full contact sports are getting a close eye on. Sports like football and hockey and boxing, MMA, like sports like that, that can cause heavy brain damage are starting to get, a blind eye. They're starting to get a closer eye on them because, we see the damage and the long term effects that a lot of these professional athletes get. But yeah, before that, he was just a kid from Louisville, Kentucky, called Cassius Clay, and he said, I was the greatest before I even knew I was the greatest, and that right there tells you the charisma that man had, because he's always gonna be known for how fast he was. He's always gonna be known for his boxing skill, but the main thing that stood out about him was like he was outspoken. He said what he thought, and he wasn't afraid of anything. And one of his mottos was, if you're too afraid to take a chance at life, or if you're afraid to take risks, then you're gonna accomplish nothing in your life. And that's pretty much the one quote that every single one of us can apply to our everyday lives when it comes to something like this. And let's see, like I said, I didn't really grow up getting to watch him because I'm a '90s baby practically, but yeah, my favorite fight of his was that I saw on tape was his second fight against Joe Frazier. It had to be. Oh yeah, and the George Foreman fight. Yeah, that's probably the George Foreman fight is my number one favorite fight of his. But yeah, like they said, in the twilight of his career, in the late '70s, early '80s, he started to take a lot more beatings. His reflexes weren't as sharp. He took a lot more punches, and that the rope-a-dope technique. That's what he's famous for, but it started to take a toll on him later on in his career in life. But as far as his legacy, like I said, he's known as outspoken, a great athlete, and he's probably one of the most charismatic people in world history. He let you know what was on his mind. If he felt some type of way, he would tell you, and that's what I take from watching his interviews and watching his post fights, pre-fight and post fight interviews. That's what I took from him, and I even did a report in the 11th grade on Muhammad Ali and what he meant to me, because I used to want to be a boxer. I used to actually want to box because my uncle, he was an amateur boxer, but he was one fight away from the Olympics, but he lost that fight that would have qualified him. I don't really talk too much about my personal life on YouTube, but I just thought that I'd let you guys know that. But yeah, I used to want to actually fight, but my mom didn't want me fighting. That's why I didn't really get into boxing or any of the combat sports. My mom always wanted to keep my head in the books and not fight. But oh yeah, I'm taking kung fu now, but that's a different story for another day. But yeah, he talked the talk and he walked the walk. He's not called the champ for nothing, and he's not called the greatest for nothing, because He was who he said he was, and that's the greatest of all time. If it wasn't for him, there'd be no Floyd Mayweather type of characters. There'd be no people, with a flashy style, with fast feet and fast hands that dance around the ring. There'd be none of that style because he was the innovator of that flashy, flamboyant style of boxing. And everybody who's a boxing fan or combat, sports fan in general should be proud to take something from that. Because if it wasn't for that, a lot of people, who's in combat sports wouldn't be doing things. Because I see people in MMA, like mixed martial arts, like Anderson Silva, dancing around the ring and winding it up, and we even had like people who I grew up with, like Roy Jones and Floyd Mayweather. We had those guys, with that flashy, flamboyant, fighting and boxing style. I mean, it not only gave us something to watch, but it gave the boxers and the fighters character and personality. It not only gave us a reason to watch these guys beat the crap out of each other and beat the crap out of their opponents, it gave us another reason to watch. Not only did they fight for our entertainment, they put on a show. And that was more important than anything. I guess that's pretty much the point. One of the points that Ali wanted to make is that you can have fun with what you're doing, and in a passion like boxing. And boxing is a brutal sport. I mean, we've seen the side effects of having, CTE, brain damage, concussions, blood, sweat, broken bones, and it's a brutal sport. And it's really not for everybody because we see the long-term damage and effects that it has on people. And I salute. I mean, like I said, I still watch boxing to this day. I'm a huge fan of boxing and combat sports. So I salute anybody who's willing to get in that ring and put their body on the line for millions of people around the world. I mean, because it's not that many people who's bred and born to do that. And Muhammad Ali, he was one of those people. But just my final thoughts on his legacy. I mean, what else can you say that hasn't already been said? I mean, he's the greatest of all time. He's a bad man. Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. Your hands can't hit what your eyes can't see. But yeah. Anyway, rest in peace, Muhammad Ali. 1942 to 2016. Cassius Clay, Muhammad Ali, the greatest all time, the GOAT. Rest in peace, champ.